Dear Muslim apologist, if as you watch this video you find yourself saying, "Those are the words, but that's not what they mean," then please ask yourself the following question. Considering what is allegedly at stake, is it really too much to ask for the Quran to say what it means? For this video, I've used the Yusuf Ali translation unless otherwise stated. In the 7th century, there were two mutually exclusive views as to the shape of the Earth. One, that it was a spheroid, and the other, that it was flat. I think it's reasonable to expect that if there is an intelligent creator of the universe, it would know which of these two worldviews is true, and that the Earth is not flat. Also, if that being were to author a perfect book about the Earth, there would be no information within it that even hinted at a flat Earth. If we read a 7th century book and find information which matches a flat Earth model, we must choose between that book either being imperfect or being authored by a fallible 7th century human. So, what would a flat Earth look like to a 7th century human standing on its surface? Point 1. The Earth would look flat. It may have dips and bumps here and there, but generally it would be stretched out flat, like a carpet. 13:3, and it is he who spread out the earth. 15:19, and the earth we have spread it out, and set thereon firm mountains. 50:7, and the earth we have spread it out, and set thereon mountains standing firm. 79:30, and the earth moreover hath he extended. 88:20, and at the earth, how it is spread out. But does the Quran really mean that the earth was spread out? The word for spread out in 13:3, 15:19, and 50:7 is madda. It is also used in 25:45 to demonstrate how Allah prolongs or stretches out a shadow rather than making it stationary. Isn't it amusing how the authors of older Tafsirs translated these verses to mean that the earth was flat, but newer explanations somehow take this to mean that the earth is round? Maruful Quran, written in the 20th century, says the expression spread out the earth is not contradictory of it being round, because each part of something very big and round appears to be, when looked at separately, nothing but a surface spread out. And the Quran addresses common people in terms of their views of things. Since a common onlooker sees it as a spread out surface, therefore it was identified as such. Which essentially means it doesn't look wrong to people who are ignorant of the facts. But what is even more amusing is when the same person later claims the word madda means stretched out like leather and expanded into a smooth plane, as soon as it doesn't reveal an error in the Quran. Of course, we now know that the matter that forms the earth was initially spread out, but that was before it was the earth. To form the earth, gravity pulled the mass together. So in fact the Quran says the exact opposite of what really happened when the earth formed. The earth was pulled together for us, not spread out. If you stand on the surface of the earth, you might easily believe it has been spread out flat, because that is simply how it looks. With the benefit of seeing the earth from space, things look very different. And if you had the benefit of not only watching the earth form, but actually being responsible for causing its formation, you would certainly know better. Point 2. Arabs living the life of a travelling trader would have noticed that flat things like carpets tended to move around in harsh weather conditions, and so would need to be pegged down, anchored, or rooted in some way. 16:15 And he has set up on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with you. 21:31 And we have set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with them. 31:10 He set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with you. In the past there were obviously beliefs that the earth had roots and that the mountains did too. Aristotle says that the old writers who invented theogonies wanted the earth and sea to have foundations and roots of their own. Job 28:9 and also Jonah 2:6 both talk about the roots of mountains. When on a trade route, people would use pegs to hold in place the flat fabrics of their tents in order to stop them from moving all over the place. So, if mountains are there to stop a flat earth from moving around, then it is not unreasonable to assume that the mountains must be playing the part of the pegs. 78:6-7 Have we not made the earth as a wide expanse, and the mountains as pegs?
Mountains are formed as a consequence of plate tectonics. The Indian plate colliding with the Eurasian plate caused the Himalayas, which are continuously moving and changing shape as the process continues. This is why the infallible Quran describes mountains as follows. We spread out the land and pitch mountains on it. And immovable. Oh well, chin up, Allah. Better luck with your next book.
Point 3. If the earth is flat, then the sky is probably flat too. As objects move, we note that objects near to us appear to move quicker than objects further away. This parallax effect gives our brains a perception of depth. As we look at the stars in the night sky, we see that, with the exception of the planets, all of those small bright dots move together as if they are one. This is in fact because they are all so far away that the parallax effect is too tiny to see with the naked eye. The human mind, being used to seeing objects at much smaller distances, interprets this as if these stars are all the same distance away. Does the Quran offer any hints of the heaven being a flat surface? Not only does the Quran say that Allah will roll up the heavens, but even says that they will be rolled up like a scroll rolled up for books. 21:104 The day that we roll up the heavens like a scroll rolled up for books. 39:67 On the day of judgment, the whole of the earth will be but his handful, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. If the Quran explicitly equating the heavens to a flat sheet of paper is not enough for you, then here are some additional examples. The Quran also equates the sky to a canopy or a roof. In these next two verses, the word used for canopy or roof is saqf. This same word is used in 16:26 to describe the roofs of buildings falling down when Allah removed their foundations, and in 43:33 to describe houses with roofs made of silver. The Quran appears to be talking about flat objects suspended above our heads. Point 4. Everything above the ground must have been lifted up. Flat Earth mythology probably came about because combining human common sense with a complete lack of knowledge of the facts leads to incorrect conclusions, such as that flat surfaces such as tables, beds, and obviously the ground itself are required to hold things without them falling off. This would imply there is an absolute up and down, and so anything that is not on the ground must have been raised up. Therefore, it would make sense that the heavens were raised up because they are not on the ground. 88:18 and the sky, how it is raised high. 79:27 to 28 the heaven, on high hath he raised its canopy. All of the atoms that make up the Earth's atmosphere were pulled towards the Earth by gravity. Relatively speaking, from the point of view of someone on the surface of the Earth, the sky was pulled down and not raised up high. So even the described from the perspective of the man on the ground argument doesn't work here. If, however, by heaven this verse is referring to the stars, then these were not raised up high either. Most, if not all of the stars we see at night existed long before the Earth did. Therefore, there would have been no Earth to raise them up from. There is simply no way to excuse the phrase raised up when referring to either the Earth's atmosphere or the universe outside of it. If by raised up it is meant made very far away, then why not say he has made it far away? Not only would that have been correct from the perspective of someone on the ground and made sense to a 7th century Arab, but it would also have been factually correct. These verses in the Quran appear to be in reference to the incorrect creation story in Genesis, in which God hovers over the waters, puts a barrier between two waters, and then raises one body of water up and names it the heaven.
Things which go up tend to come back down again. So, it is reasonable to think anything that stays up in the air, such as the heaven, is being supported by something. The all-knowing creator of the universe knows the heaven is not held up by anything, neither visible or invisible. This is made absolutely clear when the Quran says, "He created the heavens without any pillars that you can see." Hey ho chaps, looks like this book's going back to the editor.
Point 5. A flat Earth requires a place for the sun to rise and one for it to set. For the following two verses I have used the Pickthall translation of the Quran. This isn't because the Pickthall version is translated how I want it to be, but because the Yusufali translation did not match the other three English translations on QuranExplorer.com. So I ignored the one translation that was different and went with the three that corroborated each other. 18:86 until when he reached the setting place of the sun. 18:90 until when he came to the rising place of the sun. Now you may choose to give the benefit of the doubt here if you wish, but why would a perfect, all-knowing entity write such evidently flawed statements when it could just as easily instead have written that the man walked until the sun set, and that he then walked until the sun rose? Or perhaps it could have written, he walked east until he reached the sea. The same verses that say the man in question walked until he reached the place of the rising sun also says that there he found people who had no protection from the sun. 18:89 to 90 came to the place of the rising sun. He found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no covering protection against the sun. If Al-Jalalain weren't real Muslims, I'd say they were a duo of comic geniuses. The place where the sun rises is obviously so hot that all the people there have black skin. These Negroes would have to hide underground when the sun was rising, which is obviously when it would be closer to the surface of the flat Earth, and thus at its hottest. And then they would not come out until midday, when it was much cooler. How absolutely brilliant. Point 6. The east and west of the Earth would be the two furthest points. The distance between these 2 points would be the greatest possible while still remaining on the planet. The following verse is attributed to Moses. Clearly Moses, or the person concocting the story of Moses, believed that the Earth was flat, and that the distance between the furthest eastern point and the furthest western point is the largest possible. 26:28. Moses said, "Lord of the east and the west and all in between, if you only had sense." Well, I do have sense, and it's currently telling me that the author of these words thought the Earth was flat. Now, we can very well excuse the words of a human, because unless God told him differently, Moses probably would have thought the Earth was flat. But can we excuse it being written in the Quran? Moses is delivering a message in the name of the creator of the universe. In saying that Allah is the Lord of the East and the West and all in between, he's actually saying that Allah is the Lord of nothing. This is because there is no distance between the furthest easterly point and the furthest westerly point on Earth. On a spheroid, these are in fact the same place. Should Allah let such a mistake go uncorrected? Well, perhaps at the time, yes. But even then, there is no explanation as to why Allah would bring this error up thousands of years later in his book intended for all people until the end of time, when at some point in the future we would all know that it is wrong. Surely Allah would only include things that made sense and leave out all of the misconceptions instead of propagating them further, or perhaps even mention that Moses was wrong. Why would the creator of the universe include so much seemingly flat earth information in its perfect book? With so much information in the Quran that can easily be interpreted as being flat earth oriented, can we honestly say that the Quran is perfect? Would it not be more perfect if it weren't there at all? 1. Saying the earth has been spread out. 2. Comparing the sky to a flat sheet of paper. 3. Saying the sky or universe has been raised up. 4. Saying there is a place where the sun rises and a place where it sets. 5. Naming the east and west as places between which is the greatest possible distance. Life is allegedly a test to see if we accept or reject a claim that has no proof. But must it also be a test to see if we are willing to accept a claim that has no credibility? Failing to believe this claim, despite the apparent deliberate attempts to misguide us, is punishable by an eternity in hell. Considering the eternal souls of billions of people are at stake, is it really fair of the just to make this book lack any credibility to so many non-Muslims, and even contain information which must sometimes trouble the minds of the faithful? What is more likely, that the creator of the universe included verses in its perfect book which look like 7th century misconceptions, or that a man with 7th century misconceptions authored the Quran and simply claimed it was from the creator of the universe?